Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats.
Hello and welcome to another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about the nuts and bolts of running your balloon business, which is policies and fees. I know, snooze fest, but not really, because in a lot of cases, pointing out some of these policies and fees is going to help you make more money or at least stop losing money. I feel like sometimes we neglect kind of some of these finishing touches on the invoice, and then that's when I personally get into situations where I'm losing money on a U-Haul rental, or I didn't remember that I had to go back and take down, or that I had to hire someone to help, and I'm losing all this, time and money in my business. So having policies and fees in place ahead of time really has helped my business, and these continue to evolve and change. And I'm excited about this episode because I did a lot of polling of you guys on Instagram. So these are not just going to be my policies, these are going to be kind of industry standards, and they're all over the map. There is no right way to do this, but I think it's really helpful just to hear what other people are doing. So if you're new to the industry and you don't have a lot of policies in place, I think this is really going to help. Some things you might think like, I didn't even know I was supposed to have a policy about that. And if you are a veteran and you have all your policies in place, it might be interesting to hear what people are kind of doing these days. It might help you freshen up your policies, or you might realize that what you're doing is really great and really working. So I think no matter where you are in your balloon career, that these policies and fees are things that you need to revisit over and over, especially as prices change, as styles change, as expectations change. So we are going to get into everything from delivery, installation, weather, outdoor, booking policies, cancellation policies, all the policies. And the goal is to make your job easier, make you feel more secure in what you're offering, and essentially make you more money. So let's take a quick break and head over to the UGlue hotline for some great advice that sticks, and then we'll get into all things policies and fees. Welcome to the UGlue hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks, brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail.
Hi, my name is Heather, and my business is located in Tampa Bay, Florida. The name of my business is Poppin' Off Balloons. The question I have for you is, how do you get these big box companies as your clients? I see that you just worked with Kohl's. How do you go about reaching out to a business as large as Kohl's? You can't just message them on their Instagram page or go to their website and find an email for them for somebody to reach out. How do you go about getting the contact information and contacting the right person to get those larger brand name, brand store jobs? If you could give some tips on that, that would be great. And I love this show. Thank you so much. It has been such an inspiration, and I truly believe it has helped my balloon business, and I know others as well, grow. Thanks again. Bye.
Okay, so that is the $1 million question, right? A lot of people are looking for more corporate clients. And I'll be honest, almost all of my corporate clients have found me. So I have never had luck walking into a big box store and trying to sell balloons. That just has never worked for me. I know some people are much better at cold calling and making sales. I am much more likely to be found because of my website. So keep in mind, I've been in business for about 8 years. That's a long time to be found and have your name passed along, and word of mouth really works in my favor. Especially when I see a corporate client come through on my website, I prioritize them and take really good care of them. The other thing that I want to clarify, you mentioned Kohl's, their corporate headquarters is in Wisconsin. So I would not be as concerned with giant stores that you just see like retail, like a Home Depot or a Walmart. I would really focus on whose corporate headquarters are close to you. That is who's booking the events. That's where they're celebrating their employees. That's where the money really is. So corporate clients, even if they have name recognition and it's a company that everyone knows, you're going to be much more likely to work with them if you have a local connection, if they are an hour from where you're located. So start thinking that way. Look for corporate headquarters. I would try to connect on LinkedIn. That's really hit or miss. That's like boring Facebook in my mind. But that's where corporate people hang out and where you can kind of find those job titles that you're looking for. So corporate event planners, administrative assistants, it's really different every place that I have worked at. It's always a different person who's in charge of planning those events. But I will say there is no shortcut other than having a really great website that works for you. So that has been my biggest advantage. I've had a website up for years and years, and it gives people the opportunity to find me in addition to me trying to find them. So one of our really great sponsors is Balloon Suite. They will build you a website specifically for your balloon business and help you get discovered. So that takes some of the work off of your shoulders, and it's not all about you finding them. There is a lot to be said for being found online. And Instagram counts too. Some of my best corporate clients have found me on Instagram. So I think keeping your profile fresh, keeping all of your information up to date, and making sure that things are really, really easy for them. That is usually the top priority of anyone working in corporate. It's ease and speed. So don't make it difficult for them to find you or contact you or book with you. That is my advice. I hope that helps.
Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, U-Glue, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on U-Glue when you buy directly from Having a Party using code BRIGHT at checkout.
All right, let's jump right in. So policies and fees sound like a drag, but they protect us. They help us when push comes to shove, when you have an outdoor install and all the balloons are black and they pop. If you don't have a policy about that ahead of time, we're kind of the ones that have to figure it out and scramble. But if you have a clear policy about dark balloons popping in direct sunlight, you're kind of in the clear. So I'm going to talk about a lot of different policies, but first I want to mention why policies are on the front of my mind right now. And that's because I have recently started onboarding a virtual assistant. So I'm very excited that I now have someone who essentially works with me to do my bookings. So when I get a new lead, that person is now going to take it. They're going to take it from there. They're going to see it through from first point of contact to hopefully a paid invoice. And then that's the first time I'm going to really have to pay attention to the job. So if you want to know more about that, that's what's happening over in the book club. This month, I am reading and working through a book about a virtual assistant. It's called Virtual Freedom. And I'm also in real time implementing and training a virtual assistant. So if you want to follow along with that, that is over in the book club group. It's $5 a month and you get 4 bonus episodes each month. And that is the easiest way to support the podcast. So if you've been listening for years and you enjoy the podcast, that $5 a month really helps. And it's an easy way to support and you get little bonuses for it. So that is all happening over in the Patreon group. There's a link in the show notes if you'd like to join us. But that is why I have been thinking about my policies. That is why I have kind of noticed all of these holes and gaps in my business that I now need to plug. I need to figure them out. I need to have them in writing. They need to be crystal clear so that my virtual assistant can implement them for me every single time without having to check in, without having to second guess, and without having to slow down. It's not fair to me to hire someone for a job that I've essentially made guesswork. So that is why I'm thinking about policies. I have many of these policies in place. Some of them are very wishy-washy and I need to figure them out a little bit better, which is why I'm so excited that so many of you participated in some of the Instagram polls and questions that I had online. So let's dive into it. The first policy, the biggie, is the delivery policy, delivery fee and delivery policy. Now, when I say policy, I am not a big fan of contracts. I think, when you go to Party City and when you buy a dozen balloons, they're not making you sign a contract. So most of my jobs do not have contracts. If it's above and beyond the scope of a normal delivery or install, then I have a contract. If I think I'm going to lose materials or there's something dicey about it. But in general, if someone's buying balloons, they're buying balloons. It's a transaction. So I personally don't have a contract for most of my orders. I know that some people do, but my policy is usually like a one sentence line on my website. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed at the word policy. That just means, what do? Just in plain English, what's your delivery policy? Do you deliver every day of the week? Do you deliver between certain hours? You might deliver 24/7 wherever in the world. Like it's totally up to you, but I think having one line saying what your delivery policy actually is helpful. Now, the meat and potatoes of this section, though, is the fee. That is where a lot of us struggle, myself included. So I did an Instagram poll and the answers were all over the place, but in general, they fell into 3 categories, I would say. And that's a flat rate, mileage, or included in the price. So let's explain each of those categories. And again, none of these are wrong. Like, I am not here to tell you this is the way to do it. I do have an opinion about this first category though. So I take that back just because I have recently changed how I do mine and it has made me a lot more money. So the flat rate idea is that you go by regions. And that is how I typically do my delivery. I am a big flat rate person because I think it's easy. I think it's easy for the consumer. It's easy for me. And a lot of times there's a lot of profit built in. So if I am delivering to my local area, it's like $15. Like, I live in a town of 7,000 people. I can get everywhere in 10 minutes. $15, and I want to stay in my area. So that's kind of like an incentive. Companies that have free local delivery, it's because they want to serve their local area. So flat rate is one way to do it. When I am going into the city, which for me is about an hour away, I charge $150. And then kind of in between, there's a few counties that I am charging $100. So it's pretty low or pretty high. Like, I don't really have like $20, $40, $80 delivery fees. It's $15 local or $100, $150 anywhere in like these more populated city areas or suburbs. And that has served me pretty well. But then I had an interview with my friend Emily from Utah Balloon Creations, and she has created a mileage calculator. So for me, the top priority is always ease. And the biggest reason why I didn't calculate mileage is because it felt like a roadblock. But now Emily has this spreadsheet that I've downloaded, and you can download too. We will put the link in the show notes. She also just did an interview a couple episodes back all about it. It's a great interview. But she now has this spreadsheet where all you type in is how far you're going. And what's interesting about this spreadsheet is because it takes into account other factors that I wasn't normally thinking about. So 9 out of 10 times, charging by region, like a flat rate delivery, has served me really well. $150 to drive an hour is pretty good. But recently, I've started using Emily's calculator, and a lot of times what the going rate is for that mileage is actually less than my flat rate. So then in that case, I'll bump up to my flat rate. But I just had a big job in a place where I'm not familiar. It was about an hour and a half away. It required me to go back 4 times. So it was a delivery there, and then I had to drive home, and then I had to drive back to take it down, and then I had to drive home. And all of those times, I had a second employee with me driving a van while I was driving a 26-foot U-Haul. So really, those 4 trips kind of added up to like 8 trips plus paying an employee. And what's cool about Emily's mileage calculator, it's that it calculated that price. And instead of it coming out as like $150, that price came out to $1,500. Like, that was a lot because it takes into account the cost of the U-Haul, the cost of the gas, the mileage, the employee, the second vehicle. There's other things you can do like rush hour or like a rush fee or a late fee or after hours. So this calculator is really robust. So I am kind of split now. I still like my flat rate pricing for the majority of events. But this particular job was a $7,000 job, an hour and a half away. So that kind of is like a little bit of a level up on terms of what I usually do. So I need a little extra help, and that calculator saved me. So if you want to calculate mileage, I don't think you can go wrong. It's just a little bit of an extra step rather than saying, it's $100. But by calculating the mileage and the other things like a U-Haul or an employee, you're not going to lose money. So I highly recommend, it's called My Balloon Toolbox. And this is this new company that Emily has launched for balloon professionals. There's other downloads in there too, other calculators. It's very cool, and you can get it in the show notes. So those are kind of the first two delivery methods: flat rate by region or calculating mileage. And the last way to charge delivery is essentially not to charge it, just to have your items be flat rate and delivery be included. Now, I think the majority of people are going to poo-poo this idea. I'm not one of those people. I did this for a really long time. I charged a lot for my balloon decor, and it was enough to include the delivery. And again, unpopular opinion, but if you're charging $450 for a balloon arch, no matter where you deliver that, within reason, there's profit in there. Like, you're going to make money. However, the biggest reason that I switched was because, first of all, it sucks to deliver a balloon arch 5 minutes away and charge the same amount as when you deliver it an hour away. So don't let delivery be like your barrier into entry in terms of getting started in your business. Like, don't let it freak you out. But eventually you want to get to the point where you're charging for your time, not just the balloons. And if everything costs the same, no matter where you're going, you're not charging for any of that delivery time. And then when your business grows and you're suddenly not using your own minivan, you're like paying for a vehicle and the oil and the gas in that delivery truck. You just kind of have to move to the delivery fee. Otherwise, you're not going to make enough money. It's not going to be sustainable. So I definitely wouldn't encourage a flat rate, like pricing, including your delivery in the item. But if that's what you're doing now, I'm not here to like yell at you by any means. There is profit in balloons. But the reason that I made the shift away from not including delivery is because I had a conversation with someone and they simply said, like, delivery is one of their most profitable categories, like one of their biggest ways of making money. And I don't know why, it just like never clicked for me. I think before I thought of delivery as like this annoying fee that didn't really count. Like the money wasn't real, kind of like sales tax, right? Like you see the money coming in, but you know it's going to go directly to taxes. So it doesn't feel like real money. It's not yours to keep. Delivery, on the other hand, is yours to keep. Like if you charge $100 for delivery and it costs you $8 to get there, you keep the rest. So delivery can be a really, really profitable area. And I used to think of delivery as like a courtesy, almost like, well, why would I charge delivery? Because I don't have a pickup option. It felt like I was doing something wrong. And some of you are probably laughing, rolling your eyes, but my Midwestern nice comes out really strong when I'm doing fees. I just like feel bad charging people until I started paying attention to the fees that I was paying in other areas of my life. I went to a movie and the ticket had a fee. Like I bought a movie ticket and there was a fee. We just got new cell phones. Fees coming out the butt. Like there's fees on everything, and not like I just want to sink to the lowest common denominator, but if a bank can charge me $15 a month to keep my money in a checking account and that's just a fee I'm okay with paying, then who in the world is going to argue about you driving any amount of time to install balloons for them at their home? It makes sense. So it's kind of like I was making the argument against myself and there was no reason to be doing that. So I am now super comfortable with delivery fees. I'm probably going to increase my delivery fees, and it feels like extra money. It feels like free money, and I love it. And again, that balloon calculator, I have kind of switched to like a hybrid. So what does my delivery fee look like? I am kind of in two camps. I have my flat rate. So I still really like the $15 local, the $100 like the next county over, and then into the city is $150. And that works really well up to a certain point. And I think for me, that cutoff is like $1,500. If it's larger than a $1,500 event, then I'm switching over to the mileage calculator and getting a really precise fee that way. Because a lot of times for me, once I get into like probably the $2,000-$3,000 range. That's where I'm renting a U-Haul. That's where I'm hiring help. That's where I'm probably going to be going back and forth for like a refresh or a tear down, because those are those bigger corporate jobs. So for me, that's kind of a good rule of thumb. Flat rate up to a certain amount, and then using the precise mileage calculator from my balloon toolbox anytime I have a job higher than that. So that is my personal policy. But again, you guys can do whatever you want. I just think it was really nice to hear from everyone. And I would say most people were flat rate by county or mileage. And on average, it seemed like people were charging $3 or $4 a mile. Again, it depends on gas and your vehicle and how you want to charge. But once you figure that out one time, it can save it in the calculator so you're not having to do that over and over again. So if you don't have any sort of delivery fee, any sort of policy, any sort of radius, a good way to kind of check yourself is like, could someone else do this for me? Could I have someone calculate the delivery on this invoice? And if the answer is no, then your policy probably isn't clear enough for your own sake. And you're probably just costing yourself time and frustration. So getting a delivery policy and fees in place can really help just kind of sort out some of those nuts and bolts. Now, we're going to take a quick break, but this next one is juicy and one that I struggle with, honestly, and it's the installation fee. So I feel like this is newer. Maybe I've just been living under a rock, but I feel like the first 5 years of my career, I wasn't seeing installation fees, and now they're everywhere. So we'll take a break and we'll get into the juicy installation fee. Are you ready to take your balloon business to the next level? Look no further than Having a Party Wholesale, your ultimate destination for all things balloons. At Having a Party Wholesale, they're not just a distributor, they're your partner in success. With the latest and greatest in balloon innovations, they're on the cutting edge of new products that will wow your clients. From top brands like Tuftex, Jamar, Anagram, Ellie's, Premium Conwin, and more, they've got the widest selection to fuel your creativity. Elevate your balloon business with premium quality balloons and accessories that'll make every event unforgettable. Join the successful league of professional balloon artists who shop at havingaparty.com. All right, let's talk about the installation fee. So like I mentioned, I don't feel like the installation fee was as standard a few years ago as it is now. And personally, I think it has come from the influx of organic balloon artists because all of those garlands have to be installed versus before, I felt like most people that I was learning from or kind of observing in the industry had a ton of framework. It was like you get an arch, you're going to go set up the arch, boom, done. But when you order a ton of organic garland, you literally have to install it on something. You're on ladders, you're hanging from a fireplace, you're installing those balloons. You can't just set them down and be done. So I think installation times increased and they required teams of people, they required, getting on ladders and rigging, and you couldn't really deliver the balloons without installing them. So I think this is where a bit of my conflict comes because I functioned in this world without installation fees for a while, and now I'm slowly transitioning into the world of installations. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, an installation fee would be you look at your invoice, you have your item, you have your installation. So how much does it cost to install that item in your home or at your venue? And then you have your delivery fee. So essentially 3 big items listed on that invoice. So the cost of the balloons, the cost of the installation, and the cost of the delivery. Now, where I struggle personally is like if you order an arch, you can't not have it installed. Like I'm not going to deliver an arch and just lay it flat on your lawn. I'm obviously going to stand it up so it's like an arch. But the area where I now have fallen, kind of in love with this installation fee is large corporate events because I used to not charge an installation fee, and it's a lot harder to set up a $10,000 corporate job than it is to deliver a $400 balloon arch to someone's front yard. Like those are different things in my mind. So I am going to kind of fall into the same camp with this fee as I do with my delivery fee. Basically, I don't charge an installation fee if it's a smaller job. If someone is delivering 2 or ordering 2 columns or an arch, or it's a home-based party, I typically don't have an installation fee because I don't feel like setting 2 columns on someone's front porch is installing. I think that's delivering. However, If you have a large corporate job and you're running all over a venue and you're setting up multiple arches and carrying in multiple bases and doing 30 centerpieces and, doing a big organic thing on the wall, like that is an install. That is different. That takes time. You're not just walking in and plunking down their helium balloons and walking out. So that is why I do charge the installation fee sometimes. Now, I talked to you guys on Instagram and it seemed like there were only really two options in this category. Either people didn't charge an installation fee or they charged a percentage. And a lot of times that was looking like 20%. That seemed like the number I was seeing most commonly. So you'd come up with your total and then the installation fee would be 20% of the total. And that's a really easy installation fee to communicate. So that is what I have been doing with my high-end corporate clients. Now, I don't do that with my mid-range clients. I don't charge 20% across the board because, like I said, plunking down 2 columns to me is not an installation. That is a delivery. Walking a helium bouquet to someone's front step, that is not an installation. That is a delivery. So that's where this gets a bit nuanced. And I'm going to tell you how I actually calculate that. If you're a 17 hats user, this is a little hack that I figured out with my group of girlfriends that all use 17 hats. And it's been working really well for me. You can create a custom tax. So you can add a tax and call it whatever you want. My tax, I'm using air quotes, is called my installation fee. And the reason it works so well in 17 hats is because you can apply it to certain items. You can check the box and you can toggle it on and off. So instead of doing a 20% across the board, I will do 20% installation fee on like a specific item. So if it's a helium bouquet, I'm not going to check the box. I'm not going to add 20% to deliver a helium bouquet. However, if it's a big organic display, there will be an installation fee and I can just check that little 20% and it's only going to add that additional fee for that item. And then it adds it all up and it'll be on the invoice as the total installation fee. So I'm, again, kind of a hybrid. I'm somewhere in the middle. When I get up into the big money, right? Like I had a $7,000 job, I had a $15,000 job, and I had, I think, another $7,000 job. Those have been my biggies this year. Like that, those to me are very large jobs. And for those, I do the 20% across the board. And that is in addition to delivery. So I'll use this one actual event I just had. It was the one that I talked about in my delivery where I charged $1,500 for delivery according to the balloon mileage calculator. So $1,500 just for the delivery. So that covered my U-Haul rental, my gas, my time back and forth. That was its own thing. Then I charged 20% for installation because it was in an airplane hangar and loading in took forever. It took like 15 trips for 2 of us to set up. We were there for 3 hours. Like it was a ton of work. That is an installation, and I'm happy to charge an additional 20% for that time and for the services above and beyond the balloons that they've ordered. I'm not going to charge that same installation fee for someone setting up balloons in their home for a birthday party. It's totally fine if you do. I just don't feel like it's necessary. And I do feel like in my area, I would get pushback from customers. I think having a mystery 20% added on, I would get some pushback. I know lots of people don't. People just add this 20% across the board, and that's fine. But again, I don't look at delivering columns as an installation. I don't look at helium balloons as an installation. So that's why I like having that option to kind of tick that box and add the installation if it makes sense. If it's something like a 30-foot arch outdoors, that is different. That is an installation. So I think it's by item, unless you fall into those large corporate jobs. And then I do put the full installation fee on there because that's a different beast. So I hope that clarified. I hope that made sense. Again, I don't think there's any right way to do that, but there's also money being left on the table. And the first time that you get your butt kicked by a corporate job where you're having to load into a convention center and up and down stairs, and it's a 10-minute trip back and forth to the cart, and you have people helping you, like that is where you will want to start adding the delivery fee or the installation fee. That's what happened to me. It all was fun. It all felt easy until you have those big jobs and you're sweating your butt off in the middle of summer. And that extra 20% really, really sweetens the deal. All right. I need to take a sip of coffee, and then we're going to take one last break, and then we're going to get into some of the nitty gritty. These are going to be quicker, but we're going to talk about weather, outdoor, booking policies, cancellations, and some other miscellaneous fees that you might want to think about adding to your invoices.
Hi, my name is Jeff from Balloon Suite, and I have a really quick question for you. Would you like to work with people who know what works to grow sales and reach people who are interested in your decor online? I bet you would. And I bet you would be interested in working these people to help reach your particular sales goals or help to overcome the business challenge you're facing right now as an owner. At Balloon Suite, my entire team knows the balloon decor business. We have hundreds of clients in balloon decor. We've seen it, we've done it, and we can help you get through those sales and marketing and business challenges that you're facing so that you can reach your goals. You can learn more about our packages at balloonsuite.com.
All right, so let's go pretty quickly through these last fees and policies, things for you to consider. If you don't have anything about these fees on your website, you might want to add them. You might want to just consider what you do in these situations, or some of them you might not even realize how annoying they are, and you might think, I didn't know that I could add a fee for that. So the first one is outdoor. Do you charge an additional fee for outdoor decor? This is something easy that you could add an additional percentage onto. If it's outdoor, that means extra weight, heavier bases. It's trickier to install outdoors. If you've ever been in wind or bad weather, it's just a different beast. Or in the summer, the sun just makes it hot and unpleasant for you and your team. So you could charge an additional fee for outdoor decor. The thing I will say about that is if you are charging an additional fee for outdoor decor or a percentage, it better freaking last. You can't set up an outdoor arch and charge them additional because it's outdoor and then it blows over. That fee is ensuring quality. So you just need to make sure that you are confident in outdoor framing, that your bases are big, that you have a lot of weight, that you have good, strong framework, because you don't want to be the person that charges extra for something to then fail. So charging extra for outdoor. The other thing kind of along these same lines is weather. Now, this isn't going to be something you charge a fee for, but this is going to be a policy. You can have a weather policy on your website or somehow in your booking process. And this can kind of fall into two areas. It can be a disclaimer saying that you are not responsible for the balloons after you leave them. So if it's really hot and they choose to put their balloons in direct sun, tell them what's going to happen. Don't hide it. Just say they are going to pop. You chose black balloons in the dead of summer in direct sunlight. They are going to pop, I promise you. And then if they don't, that's great. But if they do, you're a little bit protected. Now, the other weather-related policy to think about is, what if they decide to cancel their event because of the weather? That spills into cancellation, which is going to be the next thing that we talk about. But you might want to say, if you have balloons scheduled for outdoors, if it is beyond our control, say it's 30-mile-an-hour winds, you might want to put a little policy in there saying that we will need to move the balloons to an indoor location. Because again, we are not miracle workers. If it is a hurricane and they still want their balloons outside, you need to put yourself in the position to be the voice of authority and say, listen, this isn't a good idea. This isn't good for me or my team or the balloons or your event. We need to move these indoors. So having something in there about being able to kind of change plans the day of in case of bad weather, that also protects you from a cancellation. So let's move right on to the cancellation policy. My cancellation policy in terms of money is they can cancel 2 weeks before their event and they'll lose their deposit. Less than 2 weeks, they'll get 50% back, and less than, I think it's 48 hours, they get nothing, because by then we've already started inflating balloons. So I don't have a lot of cancellations. I don't know that I've ever had a cancellation. But if you kind of lump your weather and cancellation policy into one, I think that protects you even more, because I think the number one reason for canceling is weather, right? People have a big corporate picnic, it's going to rain, and they decide to cancel. But it's the day before and the balloons are already done. So having some sort of cancellation policy in there, especially weather related, I think protects you. Now you could say well, the weather doesn't affect the balloons. We're prepared to set them up inside. And then if they say, well, no, we don't have a rain location, we've canceled the entire event, then you move on to your cancellation policy. So I think these two work really well together. I am pretty accommodating. Again, I've not had very many cancellations. I think I've had one where they canceled the day of the event and the balloons were truly inflated. And that was New Year's Eve. And I was like, it's New Year's Eve. You got to be kidding me. And I gave them nothing back. And then surprise, surprise, they did want the balloons delivered after all. They were like, oh, well, okay, I guess we'll take the arch after all. It was like, yeah, I bet you will because you're paying for it. So I have stuck to my guns on a cancellation policy. And that one was easy because I was able to take a picture and be like, here they are, they're done. Where do you want me to bring them if your event is canceled? I have had friends where big corporate picnics are canceled, and I think you just need to have some sort of cancellation policy on your website and on your invoice. Again, I'm not sure about other CRMs, but on 17 Hats, I think a good place to put this is in the footer. You can add a little footer to your invoice that's just at the bottom on every single invoice. Now, will people read that? I don't know, but at least you are a bit protected. So we talked about weather, we talked about outdoor, we talked about cancellation. Another policy that's a big one is your booking policy. This is like all the way back at the start of your process. What is your booking policy? At what point are they considered booked? For me, it's when they pay me money. So I can talk to someone all day long, but until they pay that $50 deposit to save their date, they're not booked. So I think having some sort of booking process or policy on your website to help clarify that, again, protects you, because we've all heard the stories of people who call the day before the event and say like, oh, well, are you still delivering my balloons? And you're like, what are you talking about? You never booked me. You never ordered balloons. You never confirmed. So I think having some sort of booking policy, booking process, at least so that you know, right? Otherwise, we get wishy-washy in terms of like, when do they actually become a client? Is it when they verbally say that they want to book us? Is it when they sign the quote? Is it when they pay money? When is that? So having some sort of policy about your booking process, I think helps clarify the experience for your customer and also for you. Now, a couple of miscellaneous things that I thought about here. Change to order. There are people that charge fees when someone changes their order. And I've always kind of rolled my eyes at this. I've always thought like, well, please, if someone wants to add or switch something, I'm going to accommodate them. However, just last week, I had someone change their entire order because, I can't even say this without getting irritated. We planned the entire baby shower, and I didn't know that it was going on the assumption that she was having a boy. She hadn't found the gender yet. She just thought she was going to have a boy. Her mom intuition told her it was a boy. And surprise, it's a girl. So now I have to redesign the entire event. And that's, to me, it's unbelievable. However, I'd like to charge her a fee for that. I already designed the entire party, and now I have to redesign it with a different theme because you thought you were having a boy, now you're having a girl. So that one really frustrated me, and I am now reconsidering the change. Another reason that people do this is because if you're on top of your inventory game and someone orders, 1 million blue balloons, and then you order them and you buy them and they're waiting, and then the last minute they change the blue to pink, you now have to buy different balloons, but you've already made that purchase. So that would make sense too, like why a change would actually impact your business and cost you money. So I don't really have a hard and fast order change fee, but I know some bigger companies do because it's extra work, it's extra time, and it's extra balloons in some cases. So change to order, that is another fee. Another fee that you could add would be specific installation guidelines. So I don't do this, but again, you might consider charging additional if someone wants you to install on a ladder. That might be something that for you is like a real problem. Maybe you can't go on ladders and you need to hire someone. And if it's X number of feet off the ground, you're just not going to do it and it's going to be an extra cost. So you can make up whatever fees you want. Maybe it's going to be an extra fee if they require you to go up in a lift. Maybe it's going to be an extra fee if they are requiring you to stick to brick. It could be something that is extra time for whatever reason, a problem for you in your business. And if that is the case, you can charge an extra fee. And now the last little fee here is, honestly, it's a big one. It's not really a little fee. And that's strike. That's tear down. So for a long time, I just kind of always forgot about going back to get my materials. And that can be two things. You can have a strike fee. So you can have a fee associated with going back and tearing down, or you can build that into your delivery fee, which is what I do. So if it's a there and back, that's different than a there and back. That didn't make any sense. If you are driving to deliver, right? On the front end of the job, you're going to drive there, you're going to drop off the balloons, and then you're going to drive home. But if you also have to go back a second time, that's another driving there and another driving back. That essentially doubles your mileage and your delivery fee. So I factor that into that delivery fee. Otherwise, I have started allowing people to return their framework to my shop. I don't love this option, but if it saves me an hour in the car on a weekend, I'm happy to do it. None of my framework, like I don't use arrow poles. I use homemade, pretty much everything. All my bases I make myself. I do PVC for my arches. So there is nothing that's worth a lot. It's more just like a hassle. And I don't want to leave framework behind because I think it's annoying. If you're like, hey, just throw this in the garbage. It's hard to throw away big bases and poles. So I sometimes give them the option, like, do you want to pay for me to come back or do you want to return it yourself? And sometimes it's people with minivans where they want to drop off, let's say, my big stuffed bear that they used for a focal point. A lot of things fit in a reasonable size car and they're happy to do that. Again, this isn't my favorite option, but it's saved me in a pinch when I'm setting up a job on a Saturday and then going out of town Saturday night and can't possibly do a pickup. This way they get to bring it back. Certain things like my light up marquees, I go back and get those. I don't want someone trashing those or forgetting them somewhere. I make sure I go back and get them. But that's one more way that you can either add a fee or give them an option to remove a fee. And I think it's always easier if they have the option to save money and choose not to, then you know they're happy to pay the fee. They're happy for you to go back and tear down. Okay, so there's probably additional fees and policies that I didn't mention, but hopefully that is a good start. So just to review, delivery fee and policy, installation fee and policy, weather or outdoor, lumping that in with cancellation policy, and then a clear booking process or policy, and then some of those other add-ons that I talked about, like changing of the order, certain specific installation fees, like getting on ladders and lifts, and then your strike fee. So if you don't have any of those, I promise you can add some. If you have all of those, I'm curious how that works out. Do you get pushback? Let me know. But I think a lot of us are kind of dabbling in some of these, not all of these. So the biggest reason that I'm talking about fees is because I need to get them clear in my own head and on my own website so that my virtual assistant can know what they are. She can't just read my mind. And then also because I want my customers to know upfront. I don't want them to have sticker shock when all of a sudden there's additional things on their invoice. So that was a lot. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Just a reminder, if you want to hear how things are evolving with my virtual assistant, that is all taking place over in the book club over on our Patreon group, and you can join using the link in the show notes. All right, I will talk to you all in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.